We're joined in studio by Bill McDermott, radio color analyst for the St. Louis FC. Bill, how are you doing
Fine,
today?
Tony. How are you?
Good. Bill and I were talking off the air. We know some of the same people in soccer. He mentioned Glenn Moochmeyernick, who used to be a coach with the national program and former coach of the Colorado Rapids. Died a few years ago. Great soccer coach. Glenn's son and my son played on the same state championship high school team in Colorado, Horizon High School, many years ago.
That's where I initially first met him, Tony, when he was managing the Colorado Rapids. Dan Counts, another St. Louisan, was the general manager at the time. But Glenn was one of the first who really got the notion of the American player being able to do things not just here in the United States, but literally around the world. And he was one of the first winners of the Herman Trophy, which is emblematic of the best collegiate player in the nation at the time.
Yeah, he was great. I love Glenn. I wish he were still with us. In fact, I wish he were in line to replace Jurgen Klinsmann when eventually that firing comes. What did you see in the U.S. match against Colombia, and what do you want to see them change coming into the Costa Rica match tonight in Chicago?
One thing in particular, not to be so erratic on offense. When they come into a game against any country, that other country, before the game starts, you'd like them to think that we're concerned about number 8, number 10, number 2, number 7. They seldom, if ever, other countries have that conversation, simply because the United States has been simply, I go back to my words, so erratic on offense. But this tournament is still very much alive for the United States. Tonight at the Rose Bowl, Colombia is playing Paraguay. The other two teams not participating against the United States tonight, they tied. So they have 1 point. The United States doesn't have a point. They can go atop, and they can be still one of the top two teams in this particular group. But this is the type of a tournament, when it's held in the United States, first time ever, it's not in South America, where the United States can indeed make some noise in their own country, playing in fairly big facilities.
You know, you talk about that erratic offense. Part of the problem there historically has been talent, but the U.S. has had some offensive talent. The problem that I've seen under Klinsmann is that we never know what formation he's going to use. We never know where he's going to put the offensive, the scoring fire punch. The guys like Bobby Wood and Clint Dempsey and Zardes. And we don't know what position they're going to be in, whether he's going to play him out of position. And so the United States team, let alone the teams from the other countries deciding who to worry about, the U.S. doesn't know who's going to be on the midfield and who's going to be up top and what position they're going to be in.
Is Clint Dempsey going to be the holding midfielder, advanced a little bit? Is he going to play on the hole right of the channel behind the top front runner? And who, by the way, is that front runner going to be? Josie Altidore, Yossi Zardes? Or is Zardes going to be up top by himself, or is he going to be on a flank? Consistently, the first 11 from game to game is usually dramatically different, as is the formation. Is it going to be 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, two people up top, 5-4? It varies consistently from game to game. Now, when Jurgen Klinsmann was playing for the national team, when Franz Beckenbauer was managing in 1990, when they won the World Cup, it was consistent throughout. Majority of the countries, if they do get married to a new system, they stay consistent with that particular system.
Do you think we're going to see Darlington Nagbe start tonight?
I think there's a distinct chance you'll see him in the first 11. These are the types of tournaments where you bleed these young players. This is the type of a player, Darlington Nagbe, who plays for the Portland Timbers, who has really shown that he can rise to a different level when put in that particular level. A game against Costa Rica, one of the minnows, if you will, in CONCACAF region, but a team that the United States may have some difficulty with simply because of their defense. Now, they will be missing their top goalkeeper, Keylor Navas, who, because of the great World Cup he had in 2014 in Brazil, gets a job in the first 11 with Real Madrid. He's undergoing some Achilles surgery right now, but he will be back for preseason, which begins, believe it or not, Tony, July 15th for Real Madrid. There's not much time off for these big clubs.
They also had Costa Rica had a red card. I think they'll be down. One of their top defenders will be out of the lineup. Let's talk about St. Louis FC briefly. They are building, getting decent crowds, I think.
Positively, Tony. The first match against Tulsa, which was this year 55-31, a sellout. They could have sold 2,000-3,000 more, but the staff tells me we don't like to have a crowd that large because our service begins to lack. St. Louis FC is playing distinctly better soccer this year than last year. Dale Schill, if he were sitting here, would tell you at the middle of the year when we hit injuries, we didn't have enough depth. Consequently, we hurt ourselves by what we were trying to accomplish, and it made for a real long summer. But consistently from the opening of this particular season, they've been playing much better soccer. And as they continue to play better soccer, the crowds continue to grow, and each player technically gets better on the ball. And I go to training sessions on a fairly regular basis. You will not see more competitive training sessions.
There is a lot of talk in St. Louis, and I think it's serious talk based on the people that I talk to about this city attracting an MLS team. When I was in Colorado, when the MLS came into being, what happened there that worked so well in that market is the A-League team, the Colorado Foxes, which had built a good following at a smaller facility, grew into the Colorado Rapids and had players like Marcel Balboa who naturally drew the fans with them. Is that what you think we're going to see here, the St. Louis FC being the basis for the MLS team that eventually comes to our city?
Yes, 100% yes in answer to your question. And one of the things that has to happen as a follow-up to your question, Tony, is that crowds have to continue to go out to Worldwide Technology Soccer Park, patronize St. Louis FC for what they're attempting to do. They recently added a PDL team as well, so it is becoming like a true overall club system, not just here in St. Louis, but patterning what goes on around the world. MLS, as you just brought up, looks better than it ever has. The league still wants you to err on the side of looking first at a downtown venue. That's not at the exclusion of all others, but they want you to look first. It is an urban sport patronized normally and mostly by millennials who live in a downtown area, who take public transportation. You're catering to a totally different market. But one of the real keys, and Commerce City, the stadium in Colorado, is one of the cities that started it, is the soccer-specific stadium. When we first started the league package in '96, we were doing games in Giant Stadium, Arrowhead Stadium, Mile High Stadium.
Mile High, yeah.
If you had crowds of 20, 25,000,
It
very respectable.
It still looked empty.
Very respectable for soccer in the United States. You defeated the purpose of what you were trying to accomplish because it looked empty.
Quick prediction for tonight, USA versus Costa Rica.
They get
What's
3
gonna
points
happen?
out of this one. They definitely get 3 points out of this one. They will snap out of the doldrums that was in the Colombia game.
Do you think Dempsey is better starting right now, or do you think he should be a second-half sub?
I think he should be in the first 11 all the time. Now, he will drive you crazy at times. My favorite word, again, erratic. But then again, he doesn't know if he's going to be a holder, pushed a little bit forward, right behind the forwards, be up front by himself on the flank. But I think of the players they have in their first 11 offensively, he's the one who can bring a spark of creativity at just about any moment.
Ole, ole, ole.
Ole, ole, ole.
Bill McDermott, thanks for joining us.
My
Tony
pleasure,
Messenger
Tony.
on the Big 550.